From the misty Pacific coast to the rugged Cascade Mountains and beyond to the high desert in the east, you are listening to the Oregon First Hunting and Fishing Podcast.
All right, folks, today we are talking about Oregon elk hunting. So if you love Pacific Northwest hunting and fishing, you are going to love this podcast, especially if you have ever wanted to figure out how to talk to elk. We're sitting here in Sunrise Church in Hillsboro, who so graciously let us meet in the middle, right, Tony? And we're sitting here with our guest, Tony Gilbertson, a.k.a. the Bearded Elk Whisperer. Tony, welcome on the show.
Thank you guys very much. It's a pleasure.
It's the coolest nickname. That's awesome.
Yeah.
My buddies gave me that nickname a long time ago.
Oh, it's even cooler that you didn't give it to yourself.
No, they started calling me the Elk Whisperer, and at the time I just had a goatee, and then I grew my beard out, and so they started calling me Bearded Elk.
Right, it'd be hard to imagine you without a beard. Yeah. So in this episode, we're going to talk about another new law about public lands, SB 1590. We're going to talk about hunting and calling elk, and have an awesome conversation with our guest, Tony Gilbertson. Tony earned his name, the Bearded Elk Whisperer, after decades of perfecting his elk calling sounds and tactics. He has had the opportunity to hunt all over Oregon and Idaho with some really awesome people, and is currently on the Phelps Calls elk team. You may have heard of the Gilbertson call, and he got to design that. That's his signature call in their what is it, the American series?
It's All-American series.
All-American series, the Gilbertson. So make sure to try that call out after our conversation today. In 2024, Tony won the RMEF World Elk Calling Championship and is the current title holder. And all that to say, this guy knows how to talk elk. And yes. I'm excited to try to glean as much as I can from you in this hour and 15-minute conversation. So we'll see what we can do.
I'll do what I can to help you out.
Yeah. Well, let's get through some of this other stuff first.
So no matter where you are listening to us, give us a follow. We want to hear from you. If we say something stupid, if we say something you disagree with, we want to know. We want to hear from you. We also have our Salem First Hunting and Fishing Club in Salem. So if you're in the greater Salem area, we'd love to meet you in person at our next event, which is our bass fishing trip, May 30th. So I'm super stoked for that. This is a season I love.
We've got some private water leads that we're feeling out, so that could be good, you know.
Yes.
Get back onto some private bass fishing. You really can't beat that.
No, you cannot.
Get those toads that haven't seen what you're throwing before.
Those top water strikes.
I want to make a note on our Salem First Hunting and Fishing Club, which is where we actually get together and do stuff. We are kind of expanding because we noticed that a lot of our club members actually live outside of the Salem area too. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to call it the Oregon First Hunting and Fishing Club. So it'll be in line more with the podcast, but also if you want to help put on some events in your hometown, then we'd love to help you figure that out, what that might look like, and see if you can be a part of connecting with hunters and fishermen.
Yes. Start little chapters. You got leads on stuff. I would love to see that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, and plus we're partnered. We are part of the Life Outdoors as well, and they're down in Southern Oregon, and they have stuff going on. So we're branching out. We're growing. Yeah. Our tentacles are spreading. So it only get better and better.
We'd love to have any excuse to get down to Southern Oregon.
Yeah, for sure. So let's make it happen. Let's get into the icebreakers.
So Tony, I think we probably know the answer to this, but hunting and fishing.
Hunting or fishing.
Hunting or fishing. Sorry, I said that wrong. Yes. So hunting or fishing if you had to pick one.
Yeah. If I had to pick one, it would be hunting, and more specifically elk hunting.
Hunting.
They're in the rut.
All right. So that answers a couple of the next questions, so we can skip those ones.
Yeah. Okay. If you had to choose hunting the east or the west?
I've spent most of my time hunting Roosevelt's in the Coast Range, and while it's a thrill and it's a challenge, I've always had, I think, better success and more fun. The bulls seem to be more vocal over on the east side when I was hunting. So if I had a choice, I would hunt Rocky Mountain.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've been elk hunting for under a decade, And I always hear that there was a time when people would say Roosevelts didn't talk. Hey, can you remember back to those days? Is that anything you ever experienced?
I still hear people say that.
Yeah.
I think it's not that they don't talk. It's just that I don't think they talk as much. But I also know people that say that Roosevelts are extremely aggressive and they talk just as much, if not more so, than Rocky Mountain. So I think it just depends on the bull.
And maybe the hunter.
And the hunter. But you know, I still hear from people who go out and they try to bugle and maybe don't quite sound like they should. And not that you have to be a professional or expert elk caller, but you at least need to sound somewhat like an elk to get them to respond. And they'll walk all over the woods and they won't hear any bugles at all. And you know, I can go in the same area and have a much different experience. But you know, it just depends on the individual, and I think the location, you know, really. Sure. Sometimes you could be in an area where there are plenty of bulls and they just, for whatever reason, don't feel like talking much. Yeah. The other thing about hunting coastal Roosevelts is that, you know, the sound doesn't travel near as far through this thick brush. You know, you get over on the east side where it's really open.
Yeah, man.
Those bugles carry a long way.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, because whenever I hear the two sides of the coin of people saying Roosevelts either are extremely aggressive, usually when they say that, they say it's just because the brush is thick that you don't hear them.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the other people say, well, they just don't bugle at all. It just kind of depends on the person, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you gotta remember, you know, over in like Eastern Oregon, for example, you get on these big ridge tops and they run for a long way. Yeah. And if you look on the Coast Range, you know, when it's forested, you don't notice it as much. But if you've ever seen a clear cut, there's all kinds of little drainages on one big ridge or one big mountain that you wouldn't know was there. They could be down in the bottom of a creek bed. Yeah. And they could be screaming their head off because they can hear you, but you can't hear them.
Yeah.
It's just the vegetation is so dense.
I have a great example of that. So we went on a late season, it was this late cow elk tag that a few of us got. I think it was one where you can hunt for a bull, and then if you don't fill your tag in September, then you get to hunt like November or December. Do you remember that, Gage?
Yeah, that was last year. Yeah.
That was just last year?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
That was 2 years ago for me.
Oh, you know what? It might be. Yeah, I'm getting them all mixed up.
But anyway, so Gage and I and then two other buddies went out, Jericho and another buddy, and we were hunting around, and there was plenty of sign, and we were trying to use cow calls to try to, you know, sneak up on stuff. And we got split up, so it was 2 and 2. And then it was like 3 hours where we were all within a few hundred yards of each other the whole time. And we had no idea where the other group was. We're trying to cow call. I think Jericho even bugled a few times. And we were like trying to find each other. And then we figured out when we retraced our steps, when we finally found each other, that there was a point where we were about 100 yards away from each other cow calling. And it wasn't until we were within eyesight that we could hear anything. Yeah. Now elk have better hearing than us, but it really did make me think about my calling, because I'm a pretty timid caller. I hold back a lot, but after that I realized they're probably not hearing me half the time. No. I think, you know, I think I'm calling into this area, but my sound's not even reaching it. Yeah.
I don't think personally, I don't think you need to get quiet until you get in close to the herd. You know, to where they can hear you and you can hear them. You know, I've had guys tell me before that I've hunted with, or I've run into people in the woods that say I you know, bugle too much, or I'm too loud, or I sound too big or aggressive or whatever. Do
these people know who you are?
Some of them.
Okay.
Not okay. I mean, most of them know. But you know, the size of my diaphragm at 210 pounds compared to, you know, a 700 or 800 pound bull elk. Yeah. Is day and night difference. I cannot possibly sound as big or as aggressive as a full mature bull elk. Yeah. And the reason I call so much is just like we were talking about. You know, they might be able to hear me and they might be calling back, but I can't necessarily hear them. So and all of these little drainages that I can't see. When you pull up your onX and you're looking on onX and you're seeing all these different contours that would suggest that there's some kind of a drainage here, I'm going to go and I'm going to call into each one of those.
Yeah.
And if it's every, quarter of a mile or half a mile that I'm walking on an old closed road or something like that I'm calling, I'm going to do it. I'm going to call, and I'm not going to just stand there and call once. I'm going to call several times. I'm going to bugle several times. I'm going to cow call.
Yeah.
And I'm going to sit there and listen for a little bit. Yep. Because they don't always answer you right away.
No. Yeah.
Number one. And secondly, at some point, if they're not talking to you and you continue to bugle or cow call at them, sometimes they just get so frustrated that you're up there making noise that they say, okay, fine, I'm going to bugle back at you.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Man.
I've sat in a spot for 15 minutes and never heard a word from an elk, another sound. And all of a sudden, or maybe I changed up the sound I was making. Maybe it was a little bit higher pitched, or maybe it sounded more aggressive or something. And then they'll, for whatever reason, something triggers them to finally call back at me.
Just push the right button.
I did. Yep. Yeah. And I don't always know what that button is. It's just, you have to try. If nothing else is working that you've done, try something else. You have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. The elk psychology. And like you're saying, I think that points to a caller's repertoire of how to make certain sounds.
Yeah, that's why I think it's important, and there's some guys that can't use a diaphragm, for whatever reason. Maybe they've got dentures, or maybe they've got a horrible gag reflex or something like that.
Or it tickles.
Or it tickles.
Been there. Calls, man.
If it's tickling you, then maybe you got your diaphragm too far forward in your mouth or something.
Yeah.
But there's, for example, and there's all kinds of collar manufacturers, of course, but I work with Phelps, so I prefer Phelps. But they make calls for guys that can't use a diaphragm. But I always say that if you don't have a bad gag reflex, or if there's no other reason that you're not using a diaphragm except for the fact that you don't know how to use one, learn how to use one, because you can be so much more versatile with a diaphragm than you can with a squeeze call or a bite and blow call.
Yeah.
It's so much different if you can learn how to use an elk diaphragm.
Yeah, because it's using your own mouth and muscles and flesh to control it all, your tongue.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, we're going to get to hear a lot more details into the elk tips later on, but to keep the show moving, I just want to say one more time, please share the show with someone that loves hunting and fishing. One thing that we're trying to do with this is provide value for Pacific Northwest hunters and fishermen, and so we've been writing these articles with deeper dives and information on how to do different things. Like we had one that got shared a lot that was how to call in mountain lions. And recently we did another one that's how to spring bear hunt. So trying to make these timely articles. And if you want to see those, go to the lifeoutdoors.org and go to the blog section. And that's where you'll be able to find those write-ups. There's also some faith-based stuff up there too, where you can really dive into that aspect of the life outdoors and what we do through there. But I want to encourage you guys to check that out, share it with someone that who you think would get benefit from that. So let's get into the news. There is a new bill that was introduced for this, I believe it's the May session is when there's going to be something going on there. But it's this Oregon federal land sales bill, which prohibits the federal government from using the state of Oregon's resources when they are trying to sell a piece of, it's a mouthful. When the federal government is trying to sell a piece of federal land in Oregon to a private company or individual. So when they're trying to privatize federal public land in Oregon, this bill would make it so they're no longer allowed to use the state of Oregon's resources in that sale. So maybe it's a problem I didn't know was happening. I don't really want to talk about too much of the process that goes into selling public land, but kind of the question that's starting to rise in the back of my head, and I want to hear your guys' opinion on this, is how many bills and laws do we need to create? Because I completely agree with the heart of it in making it harder for the federal government to offload public land, because I fully believe that that is my heritage as an American citizen. My inheritance is that I am a public lands owner, and that's where I recreate. That's where I live more than recreate. That's like my lifestyle. It's my life is up there. So I want to protect it. But I don't know. I'm starting to get fatigued. I don't know if you guys are, of just the constant onslaught of bills and laws that there is to talk about lately that have to do with either recreational land access or even just outright potential bans on different hunting and fishing practices. We don't even need to talk about IP28 right now, the one that's supposedly getting signatures to ban hunting and fishing in Oregon and ranching and all that. To keep that out of the conversation.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll get my blood pressure up.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Because on the other side, there's like laws that are good that we agree with, like the corner crossing law, and it's written in such a way and it's sponsored by Democrats and Republicans that it'll grant public lands access to its rightful users, which is you and me, but it'll also protect the neighboring private landowners. So there's like good things for us to fight for. And this could be, I'm not educated enough to know if SB 1590 that we're talking about right now would be a good thing. Mm-hmm. But maybe more of a philosophical conversation that you guys could give input on is like, do we need to keep making more laws? Is it something we can even stop doing? Or is it just like, this is conservation nowadays, it's a legal battle?
It sure seems like it's a legal battle anymore. I mean, my opinion about this is that, like you'd said, this is our land. It's all of our land.
Yeah.
And for the government to for whatever reason, decide that, they think it's best to sell that land to generate income for the state or whatever the case may be. I just think that we as Oregonians, as taxpayers and property owners ourselves, we need to have some say in that. So if there's a bill that makes it more difficult or gives us the ability to have more of a voice or a position on this, I'm for that. But I agree. I mean, it's hard. There are so many bills. I mean, not just related to this, but I think they get lost.
Yeah.
There's just so much information out there, and it's hard to track them all, and it's hard to understand them all.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's hard to stay, educated and stay up on those. So it's frustrating that we even have to talk about it as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's just, it isn't something that sits well with me. This is our land, and mm-hmm. This shouldn't be just this governing body that thinks that because they think it's okay or they think it's best for all of us that we don't have a chance to weigh in on it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think that the understanding it part of the discussion is the one that I'm struggling with too, because it's like, to me, this means something, right? That the federal government couldn't use the state of Oregon's resources to sell public land to private individuals.
Yes.
That means something that I'm like, sure. But I have no specific knowledge of what that even means. I didn't even know that they were using the state of Oregon's resources. I still don't right now know if they were in. I tried looking into it. There's just no way to know some of these things that we kind of have to trust that it's in our best interest. But ultimately, how do we even know with something like this?
It'd be interesting to know. I watched and I know you don't want to talk about IP28, but I saw there was a lady that represented Oregon Hunters Association as a lobbyist, and I wonder if reaching out to those kind of people, if because they're in that all the time, if they might have resources that you can go to that would just clearly and succinctly explain, the details of those bills would be.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I have a question about understanding something like this, my sister is a law student right now, so I'm like, "Hey, Hannah, can you read this for me and give me the bullet notes, the spark notes?" But I think for something like this is probably not an overreaction, but a reaction to what was happening over in Utah with the selling of the private land.
That would have been,
Utah.
a Western thing. It would have impacted Oregon.
Yeah. So this is, I mean, I'm sure this is just a reaction to it. And so obviously, I can maybe cheer this on in the sense on face value. And I want to, I want to have resources and be protected in that. But there's, with bills like this, there's always something underneath it that I'm always weary of. I mean, government overarching, right? The government.
It's nice that it has Democrat and Republican support.
Yes,
so that's usually a good hint that it's something decently good. But yeah, sometimes the ulterior motives are like, man, I wonder if this, without having talked to the person who wrote the bill, I wonder if it's like this is as far as you can go without prohibiting federal land sales in Oregon. Like if there was a bill that was like the federal government is not allowed to sell public lands in Oregon, maybe that's what this bill would have been. But instead, it has to be walked all the way back to. They just can't use Oregon resources when they do it. Because there's you can't ban the federal government from selling public land. You can't do that.
Yeah. So
these days you can because there's laws for everything. But
right. And even though you got bipartisan support, I still sometimes question motives. You don't really. I don't think we always really know. We're not always privy to the details.
You gotta follow the money, probably somewhere. Going back to my sister, I was talking to her yesterday, and along with the Peace Act, IP 28, and then also with the firearm restrictions coming down in the pipeline, which I don't even know what the update on that is.
114, right? Measure 114.
Yeah, and then whatever was birthed out of that.
Yeah, because they repealed that, right? And introduced a new bill.
Yeah.
Was it officially repealed?
I thought I heard
114 was, but
really,
but the more extensive, more restrictive laws coming in the pipelines, like 4123. It has a different name to it, and
we got to have that Lethal Lovebirds guy on to ask him about that.
I really need to be educated on that because it changes with the wind. But my sister was talking about how the federal government will eventually get involved in situations like this and establish a floor. So like when it comes to public land selling and making it privatized, I would imagine within the next 15, 20 years, because this is really starting to gain traction in different states, the federal government's going to probably get involved and establish a baseline floor to what can and can't happen.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So it made a lot of sense when my sister was talking about it to me. So
that's some good input there.
Yeah.
For three uneducated guys about this bill sitting here talking about it, that's some pretty sound advice there.
Yeah. Thanks, Hannah.
Yeah. Talking to your future lawyer sister, so that's helpful.
She's on retainer.
Good to have that in your back pocket. Yeah.
Lawyer in the family. Yeah. So I think if you want to keep track of this and just the onslaught of bills that in the 2020s hunters and fishermen need to be aware of, then definitely Oregon Hunters Association is a great resource. Like Tony said, Backcountry Hunters and Anglers does a lot, and they even have some Oregon chapters. So, just a couple of organizations that I always point people to that are good for legislation related things to keep an eye on that and see if there's anything for you to do about it. But let's get into our conversation with Tony Gilbertson.
Let's do it.
All right. Sweet. I like it.
So, Tony, we open up the show every time by asking our guests to share their favorite hunting or fishing story or just outdoor experience in general with us and our listeners.
It's a tough question.
Yes.
Only in that there's so many of them, but I think for me that because I'm so passionate about elk calling at this point, I'd have to go back to the first bull I called in for a buddy of mine.
Oh man.
We were over in Eastern Oregon, and there was this road that we used to drive out every morning, and we'd get up at like 3:00 in the morning and just go out and kind of do some night bugling before the sun came up. And
oh man.
And we'd try to locate bulls, and we that morning found, I think, 3 or 4, if I recall. Wow. And we would always choose the one that sounded, the most fired up.
Wow.
The one that bugled.
This was your first bull you called in?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, okay. So
So-
you were born knowing what to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it was so much that as it, like I said earlier, it's just, some bulls are just, they're in that mood, right?
Yeah.
Because there were several bulls that would respond to me, but then they really never would say much after that.
We're there on the one day of the season when that bull was callable, right?
Yep. And so we chose the bull that we wanted to go after, and we went down into this off this ridge and got below him, and I was calling, and he would bugle back and forth to me for a while, and he kind of he'd walk away from us a few times, and we'd have to close the distance again and get close to him, and he'd gotten quiet, so we didn't know really where he was, and it just so happened where when I had stopped and I'd bugled at him, we happened to be right below him. And this bull ripped off a bugle that, I mean, it's hard to describe how it makes you feel if you haven't experienced it, but especially when it's like, the first situation you've been in where you've maybe haven't perfected your calling, but you're good enough to communicate well with the bulls. And I let out a bugle, and this bull responded to me, but the tone, the pitch that he went up to was this, in what they refer to as a kind of this challenge bugle, this just high pitched scream. And I'm like, oh crap, what do I do? I mean, this sounds like it's about to get real. Yeah. So I'm like telling my buddy, I'm like, okay, I think you need to we need to separate here a little bit and like, either stay where you're at and I go back, or you go forward, and I'm just like a Chinese fire drill, or whatever they call it, And, so we're trying to figure out what we're doing before this bull is on top of us, because he's coming. I mean, I can hear him.
Oh man.
And so he goes up in front of me, maybe 20 yards, and I'm like, I don't know if that's enough. So I back up another 20, 30 yards, and all of a sudden I see the bull, and he's coming down this ridge, and he stops about halfway down, and he lets out this bugle again, and it's still that just high-pitched
you can just
scream.
See him right there screaming.
I can see him screaming, and he stops screaming, and he starts raking this tree.
Oh yeah.
And he's raking the tree, and he looks up at me. He's got branches stuck in his antlers, and bugles again, and so I bugle, and something triggered, and that bull came down, and he come down just perfectly in front of my hunting partner, and he shot, and the bull ran off. So I bugled, and I thought, I couldn't tell whether I could hear him shoot, but I don't know whether he hit the bull right. So I just I'd watched plenty of the Primos Truth series videos old way back DVDs in the day, right?
Stuff, right? Yeah.
So I picked up the part where, okay, after you shoot and you shoot a bull, bugle at him, get him to stop, make him think that there's a bull. Yeah. Something happened other than a human shooting at him, right?
Yeah.
So the bull goes up there and stops, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm kind of watching. I can see his antlers. I can't see the bull all that well. And my buddy shoots again, and the bull disappears. So I bugle again. I'm like, oh man, I wonder if he hit him. So I'm just going to bugle. And pretty soon, I can see my hunting partner up, and he turns back at me and he says, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, you shot at this bull. I'm trying to get him to stop." He says, "Well, he fell down right there." And I said, "Well, I can't see him, as it turns out,
he's belly up.
I guess fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at this, the first time, so his 20-yard pin and his 60-yard pin were both green.
Oh.
So the bull's like 20 yards in front of him.
Yeah.
He uses a 60-yard pin. He had 5 pins.
Oh, man.
And shoots over the top of the bull the first time.
Yeah.
So the bull runs off. So thank God I bugled when I did, because it got him to stop and to get another shot at him.
Oh, okay.
And he shot again, but he hit him in the spine, and it just
spined him.
He spined him, and he just dropped in his tracks.
Wow.
So he went up there and shot him again, and it was all said and done. But
yeah, man.
That time, that was one of the most memorable hunts that I'd been on. It was the first time I had called in a bull for anybody.
And he was angry.
And he was really angry. And I was, from that point, I was hooked.
Yeah.
I just, that when that happens to somebody and they've never experienced that, that'll make you a lifetime archery hunter.
Yeah,
for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
I mean, I never wanted to pick up a rifle again. If I can have that kind of experience, my heart's racing, my pulse, I can feel my heartbeat in my throat, and my hair standing up on the back of my neck, and
you feel like you're breathing louder than you're calling.
For sure.
I feel that. Sure. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, that was one of the most memorable experiences. And then I've got one more that was
okay. Yeah.
That was probably, I don't know, 10 years ago, I guess, maybe a little bit longer. I hunt a lot by myself, and I pedaled my bike back in a ways into this area. This was on the Coast Range. The first story was over in Eastern Oregon. This one's on the Coast Range. I get off of work, I go home, I change, I grab my bike, throw it in the truck, and I head out for an evening hunt.
Okay.
And I ride back in, and I'm pushing my bike up the hill, and I drop my bike off, and there's this drainage I like to call into. And so I'm calling down into this drainage, and I'm not hearing anything, and pretty soon I hear somebody walking up the road. It was a gravel road. And so I thought, oh man. So I grabbed my bike real quick and get out on the road, and it's this guy pushing his bike up the road too. And I'm like,
oh yeah.
Well, there's somebody else coming up in here. And so we stop and talk, and he says, well, you back in here by yourself? I said, yeah. And he says, well, you want to hunt together up here tonight? And I said, sure, why not? I mean, it's better, I think, in that situation to hunt together than to screw something up for each other, right? Yep. So we go up in there a ways and get up around the corner, and I call off down into this drainage up at the very top of it, and get cows to respond. And back then, you could still shoot either sex. And,
yeah.
And so I'm like, well, it's late in the season. I'm going to fill my tag. And so I get set up, and the guy that was with me gets up behind me like he's going to do some calling, right? And as it turns out, it wasn't necessary, because this herd of elk just single filed up this this gravel road, and there was this kind of we kind of got off up on this the road wide there, and I was up in this clear cut, and there was a little patch of trees between us, and I could see bodies moving through the trees walking up this road, and I draw my bow back, and the first cow that steps out, it's a great big mature lead cow.
Sweet.
And I shot her, and she whirled and went running down off the road, and ran into a tree and bounced off the tree and went down, kind of where she back where she came from. And I'm like, wow, that happened quick. And,
no kidding.
And I thought I'd made a pretty good shot on her, but of course, you never know. So I'm standing there, and this guy came up to me and he says, well, did you shoot her? And I said, yeah. I said, I think I made a good shot on her. About that time, a bull bugle's back up behind us.
Oh man. Oh.
And completely different herd. So I said,
wow. Elky area. Okay.
Let's just leave her alone. We can always go back and see if
let her die, right?
Yeah, right. So, so I said, well, you get up in front of me here, and I'll start calling for you. So he gets up there, and
what a lucky guy.
I know. It was pretty crazy. So we were in this clear cut, and he was walking along this road. The herd was up in the very far corner of this clear cut, kind of right at the edge of the timber. I could see the bull come out first, and he stands up there and bugles. And pretty soon he takes his horns, and dust flying. He was raking the ground, and there was
Oh,
grass
really?
flying and dirt and just
Tearing it
dust
up.
and
Yeah.
and same kind of deal. He'd look up and he'd have just great big, root balls of grass in his horns, and he's looking down my way, and pretty soon, the guy that I happened to run into kind of worked his way up, and I saw this bull jump.
Oh, like you spooked him?
Like he'd spooked him or shot at him or something.
Oh, okay.
And he runs off into the timber, and I'm like, well, I don't know what happened, so I'm just going to stay down here and start, just keep calling. And there was also a few cows and calves that were up there too. So the clear cut had been replanted. So the trees were probably, I don't know, maybe 4 feet tall or something.
Okay.
Not a lot of cover.
Yeah.
So I'm cow calling, and pretty soon this calf on a dead run from about 150, 200 yards from me runs right up to me about 10 yards and stops.
No way. Wow.
And I'm knelt down kind of behind this little tiny fir tree. And I'm like, oh, what do I do now?
Yeah.
I can't, I don't know if the bull's still up
you
there.
don't
So
wanna spook anything.
So I just shut up, right?
Yeah.
And she loses interest and finally goes back up to the herd. So I thought, okay,
Wow.
well, I'll keep calling. So I started calling again, and pretty soon she comes on a dead run again.
Oh,
Only this time she brings her mom with her. So there's this calf and this cow standing out in front of me at the same distance.
Wow.
Probably 10, 15 yards from me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, gosh, dang, where's that guy at? I don't know if he shot this bull. I don't know. I mean, there's this cow that's like right here. And pretty soon I hear a shot, and I could hear this arrow go right in front of me.
Ooh.
Goes right through that cow, and she does like this 360 twirl right in front of me and falls over dead.
Whoa.
And
Did he know you were there?
yeah, he knew I was there, but I had no idea he was there. He had worked back down that road in this little cut bank in the ditch there, so that the elk couldn't see him, and I couldn't see him either.
Wow.
That's a good spot.
Anyway, I'm like, wow, I can't believe this just happened. So he walks up to where I'm at, and we go walk up, and we're standing there looking at his cow. And I said, well, this is going to be a late night. So we're standing and looking at his cow, and I heard something. And I look up, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me right now. That bull was standing 50 yards from us in the clear cut staring at us.
Oh my
We're
goodness.
looking at that cow.
Wow.
So obviously he didn't shoot the bull.
Yeah.
As it turns out, he shot at the bull, and that's what spooked him. And that's why he ran off into the timber
He
there.
came
And
back though.
He'd worked around down below and probably to try to get my wind.
Yeah.
And as I was still calling, and then after he shot that cow, he came out there and he was just standing there looking at us. And of course, we didn't have any tags at that point.
Yep. He's just learning, right?
Wow.
It was a learning experience for everyone involved in that, the elk and the people.
Right. Yeah. So that was a late night. I had a friend that was a logger. We were on private timberland, and that we could hunt, and there was a locked gate. So I called security of the private timberland, and I said, hey, we got a couple of elk down in here. Can we get the gate unlocked so we could drive back in here? And so I got some buddies of mine, and this guy ended up getting some buddies of his that happened to be, he'd picked them up at the local bar.
Oh.
And these guys were tanked.
Oh, man.
They were, and
Jeez.
so they backed our truck up to this cut bank, and they start loading his cow, and one guy trips over a little stub and falls head over heels down into the ditch and whacks his head on the truck, and he gets up and he throws his hands up in the air. He says, I'm all right, all's good. Goes back up, and he's got a cut on his forehead.
Oh,
wow.
Jeez. He's going to feel that one morning.
Yeah, I'm like, you guys just load your own cow. I'm going to go up here with my buddies and load mine.
Yeah, it was nice meeting you.
Yeah, right. So anyway, I'm sure he had a headache in the morning, but
yeah, no kidding.
yeah, that was a fun, memorable night that
Yeah, man. Awesome.
action packed.
So don't be so quick to disregard people you see out in the woods.
No, I mean, I think we've all run into people in the woods, and there's two kind of people, right? There's people that are reasonable, and we'll have a conversation about where each other's going, so we're not messing up each other's hunts. And then there's this guys that
I was at the gate first.
Yep. I'm here. I'm going back in there. And I don't care what you think or what you say, and whether you're at the gate first or not, some guys will come in behind you. They don't care.
Wow.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's a whole etiquette conversation there. But
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Those are two really cool stories.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It was fun.
And you kind of answered some of the other questions I was going to ask you in the first story about kind of like when you got your start, when you started hunting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I started hunting before that, but not seriously. I didn't grow up my dad hunted, he rifle hunted, he never did archery hunt. I was kind of on my own when it came to that, and that came years later. And I didn't hunt that much when I was a kid, either with my dad. So it's been a huge, learning experience. And, as far as just years and years worth of driving my wife nuts with,
been there.
Hey, that's relatable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
No kidding, man. So in the time that you've been elk hunting, have you noticed a pretty big change in the way it goes, and sure, maybe the experience of the individual hunter, but even just elk hunting in general?
I have. In fact, I was just talking to some guys at the Sportsman Show here over the weekend in Portland, and they've had similar experiences. There's some areas that I hunt that I'm at a point now where it was so convenient for so many years because it's so close to home.
Yeah.
That it's hard to leave. But
and you remember the old experiences there, right?
What's that?
It's like I think I know where you're going, because there's the spots that are convenient and close, but there's a lot of pressure now.
Tons of pressure.
But then you remember the good old days, because I have some spots that I remember when this was full of deer and it was wonderful. But now every time I go, there's 4 trucks at the gate.
Right. And there's still plenty of animals there. I mean, that's what's really frustrating. It's hard to leave when you know there are elk there. There are very few times where I can go in the woods and not hear or see elk.
Wow.
But they just act differently. I think, that first week when there's so many people in the woods bugling at them, it's just, I think they get nervous and wise real early. And unless you're, again, right on top of that one bull that's in the right mood, it's really hard to get them to commit. And then, you think you get into an area where, there's nobody around, but yet there's gates on the other end of this property that people come in from the other side, and you don't know if they're there or not. And you get back in there.
Yep.
And maybe they've already bumped the elk out and you're too late. And so, it's changed. The hunting pressure's changed. I think the animals respond differently in high pressure areas, and everything I hunt is high pressure. So I think
it's the story of the West Side, right?
I think so. Yeah. And I've even heard stories on the East Side too, that's the same situation. I was talking to a friend of mine over the weekend. It just, it's, you have to find places, and it's hard to do that in the Coast Range, but you have to find places where other people either don't want to go or not as many people want to go.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do when there's roads everywhere.
Yep.
But you have to find those nasty spots that you look down and you go, I don't really want to go down in there, but if I don't, then, I might be kicking myself in the hind end if I pass it up. So,
Have you changed your approach? Has your elk hunting strategy evolved over the years with the changes in pressure?
Yeah, somewhat. I mean, I still call like I used to, but, I think I use a lot more cow-calf communication, especially when I'm just kind of wandering through the woods, and if I don't hear anything, if you're in an area where you see rubs or you see tracks or you see fresh elk scat, that there are elk nearby and they're not too far away. They're just not talking to you. I'll take the opportunity to, instead of walking all these cat roads, I'll cut through these patches of timber or brush in a lot of cases, and just cow call. I'm, intentionally stepping on branches. I'm breaking branches on trees. I'm kicking over rocks and stumps and
just making elk noises.
I'm making all kinds of elk noises. That's something that people don't think about. They think that they need to be quiet out in the woods when you're elk hunting. Elk are not quiet.
Yeah.
They are very noisy creatures.
Yeah.
So making as much noise as you can to sound like a herd of elk feeding through the timber, making some soft cow-calf communication. I've had a number of times where elk come in, quiet, or pretty soon you just hear a branch break. That's something I think that people forget about. They get so hung up on not hearing a bull respond to them. Well, if you see fresh rubs alongside a road, or you see trails that look like elk have been on them recently, walk those trails out. And go through the brush, go into the places where other people don't want to go, and just make elk noises. And they're not always, vocal noises.
Yeah. Sort of the strategy that I have developed over my short time elk hunting is I, like you're saying, I cow call when I'm wandering around, but and maybe to my detriment, but I tend to not bugle until I found fresh sign. Like if I'm in an overlook or something, obviously you rip a bugle at certain outlooks on the trail, right? Like there's probably spots where every single elk hunter bugles in this spot, right? It's like, it's probably a thing, but so I hit those ones obviously, but a lot of times if I'm not seeing rubs or fresh poop or tracks or anything, then I'm still cow calling as I'm walking around and working the wind. But a lot of times I don't bugle until I'm like, I know there's elk somewhere around here. Yeah. And then that's when I start bugling.
And I don't think that's a bad strategy. I think you're right. I think, you're driving around in the woods and there's obvious turnouts alongside a road that's over, a canyon or clear cut or something like that.
Well, I'm going to bugle here. I don't care if everyone else did.
Exactly.
I am.
And sometimes, it works out and sometimes it doesn't. But, I know, some people, instead of bugling right from their truck or the road where they've parked, will walk down into the timber a little ways or off the edge of the road a ways and bugle, because it doesn't sound like you're right up on the road that way. So I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but I mean, it stands to reason that, if the elk hear a rig pull up and,
a door slam,
whether you're slamming the door or not, but they hear the vehicle and then they hear somebody bugle right from where the vehicle is, that they might get suspicious. So
I mean, Jericho, he's another co-host that's on the show a lot. He bugles from the pavement and he gets bugles back.
Yes.
I do too.
It's kind of funny.
I do too. Again, I think it just depends on the bull. Some of them will, some of them won't.
And that's a different strategy too, because the way that I hunt an area, I hunt like one canyon at a time, like I'll spend a whole day in one canyon, while Jericho's technique is to more cover lots of miles. And that's why he's bugling from roads more, because he's, casting out to all these different canyons, trying to find the angry bull. So that's why, like, I think his strategy is probably more efficient for finding an angry bull. Mine might be more efficient to getting in close to herds, because I have lots of experiences walking up on herds.
Right.
But I also have few experiences of the bull actually being ready to come want to fight me,
Well, I think that strategy of covering ground, if you're not hearing, and I practice the same strategy. I mean, if I stop somewhere and I bugle and nothing responds, even if there's an elk there, I really don't want to mess with them. I would rather go down the road a few miles and see if I can find another bull that like fires right back at me.
Yeah.
And then before I make another bugle, he's like bugling back, trying to figure out where I'm at.
Yeah.
That bull is ready to have some kind of a confrontation with, and perhaps, more likely to call in than a bull that is there and either, maybe lets out some little timid bugle at you or doesn't bugle at all.
Yeah.
So I do the same thing, and you asked me about, whether I thought hunting has changed over the years. I think, with back when I was learning how to call, I was, I'm 57 now. So I haven't been hunting as long as a lot of people have, archery hunting or calling, but long enough ago to where I wasn't watching YouTube, I was buying DVDs but with YouTube and all of the people who are on YouTube, the influencers that are talking about their hunting strategies and with the improvement of elk calls, and more companies that make elk calls, I think there's more people who have become interested in this sport.
Yes, absolutely.
Than what used to be. I mean, I've seen a huge increase.
Yeah.
In hunting pressure, I think, as a result of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No kidding. It's like everyone told them, there's this kind of hunting you can do where the weather's usually nice, and you can have a giant animal screaming, running right to you.
Yeah. And I don't fault these guys at all. I mean, I think it's great that that people are out enjoying the outdoors.
Yeah.
It makes it more difficult for people and a bit frustrating at times, but it's not my land, it's our land. So we're all out trying to do the same thing, and we just have to try to figure out how to do it a little bit smarter so we get away from it.
We just have to also figure out how to teach the new hunters to be respectful too, because I've had 99% of the encounters I've ever had in the woods are great.
Right.
And you shake someone's hand, you say your name. Well, where are you hunting today? I was planning on going down there. How about you? Oh, you'll stay on that side of the ridge. Okay, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Very rarely have I had, I was at this gate first. Yeah. I don't want you to hunt. It's very seldom I've had that encounter.
Yeah, it's frustrating, and I'm that guy. I mean, I don't want to ruin anybody's hunt, and I don't want anybody to ruin my hunt. And for example, this past September, I was hunting with my son over in Eastern Oregon. He had a tag over there, and I was calling for him. And long story short, I had to go home. My wife had a medical emergency. I had to go home and take care of her. And my son stayed. The night before I left, or that same night actually, I'd gotten a couple bulls to bugle. So we located them. He goes in to the gate the next morning. People in the camp next to us had heard those same bulls. He got up, got over to the gate, noticed a truck come out of the campground because it was right across from camp. Drive real slow past where he was while he's getting his gear on, kept going. So he goes off up there to where, he was going to get at least set up in the dark to listen.
Yeah.
And thought they had driven past. Well, he gets up in there and he's sitting at the head of this little trail that he was going to walk back in on. And he hears people walking back in there. Mm. And he turns his headlight on just before they get there. And he says, what are you guys doing? Well, we heard these bulls last night bugling for camp and we're going to hunt them. And he says, well, that's what I'm doing. My dad got these bulls to bugle and we heard them last night. And so I was going hunting. He says, well, I don't know what to tell you. We're going to hunt them too. By the way, we've got two guys down below on another trail that's coming up after him.
Oh, geez.
And it just, it ruined his hunt.
Yeah.
And it took kind of the wind out of his sails. And
man.
So it's just, there are so many people that could really read up and practice better elk hunting ethics, or hunting ethics, period, etiquette, I guess, and it's frustrating.
I have a hypothetical for you.
Okay.
So let's say there's a new position elected in the United States called the Archery Elk Hunting Czar, and you set the rules for archery elk hunting. Not like, the regs, but I'm saying like the etiquette, the strategy, like this is how. So if you think all elk hunters could work together to make a better experience for the future, what are some rules or tips that you would give just for the general elk hunting population? Like you should do this and not that.
Yeah. if you're not willing to get out of the bed early enough to get to, in this case, a gate, and somebody else beat you to it, keep on driving.
Okay.
Go to the next gate, or find a different area. Mm-hmm. Or if the guy happens to be at the trailhead or at the gate, and you stop and talk to him, and you have a civil conversation about where they're going. They were there first. Maybe they're going to hunt a different area, and you go past that area, and you can hunt. You go go back behind the same gate, but just stay away from where they were going to hunt. I mean, it's not. We need to share the woods, right? I mean, it's not that difficult. Either get up earlier, or don't complain about somebody beating you to the gate, and just keep on going by, and go find some other elk to hunt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think that's great. That's just part of general hunting, It's like it's on public land. It's first come, first served, unless the person who's there is nice enough to let you tag along, like you did on the bike.
Right.
So,
I mean, if you get back in there and you're hunting the same herd, nobody's going to have success, right? You're going to blow them out.
Yeah. Yep.
So why not increase your odds and go somewhere else if somebody's beat you to a trail or a gate?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that's just my opinion. But I'm still a little bit frustrated over some of the things that happened this last year.
Yeah. So. Well, elk hunting czar, I'd like to ask for some more wisdom.
Okay.
Do you think if the common elk hunting strategy that we all practice, that we all do you think if it keeps going down this road, elk are eventually going to be mostly uncallable, or do you think they're already there? Do you think there's anything that the population of elk hunters can change in order to help elk still be callable, or do you think it's just out of our control?
Well, that's a $1 million question right there.
Well, that's why you get paid $1 million as the elk hunting czar.
The elk hunting czar. I would sign up for that job. That's a pretty good salary.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the older, more mature bulls, if they've been pressured a lot and they've been called to a lot, I think they've got a bit of a memory. Do they remember year to year? I don't know about that. I think they get seasoned. I think that first week, if they get pressured, I think they probably begin to remember. But you've got new generations of elk coming, every year, and I don't know that that's something that they, the elk community teach, so to speak.
Okay.
I don't know. I watched a video that Phelps Game Calls put out. Dirk Durham was in a hunt, and it was I think the title was Uncallable.
Okay.
Because they went into this area where there was plenty of elk, but people have said that you just can't call these bulls in. And while they were more difficult to call in, I think that they had opportunities where the bulls would respond and come in. Maybe the shots weren't there, but I don't know that there's going to be a time where elk are going to be uncallable. I think you need to get better at calling. I think you need to become more versatile at calling to call some of those bulls in. Yeah. I think maybe learning some of the behaviors of elk. And I'm not a biologist, and I'm not one to claim that I know what elk are saying every time they make a sound. I don't know that really exists. I mean, some people think it does. Yeah. And maybe it does. I don't know. But at least in my experience, I can go out and make the same elk sounds to one bull or two different bulls and have a completely different response. Yeah. Based on, location, time of day, whether maybe there's a cow in their herd that's in heat, certainly whether they've been pressured. But I don't know that I'd say that there are elk that are uncallable. They might be uncallable one day. And the next day you go in, and it might be a completely different story. Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that's how that works. I think I think you could go into an area, and if they don't smell you, and you could call to those bulls and not hear anything, or maybe get some timid response.
Sure.
And because you know there are elk in there, you could go back in there the next day or maybe a couple days after that, and you could have a completely different experience. I mean, the bull could be on fire because of the situation in the herd there with the cows.
Yeah.
And that bull is just completely fired up and wanting to fight. And, you know, he hasn't gotten into a fight where he's gotten his butt kicked by a bigger bull, and he thinks he's the big bull on the mountain, and he hears another bull in there and it's going to try to come in and take his lady friends from him. He's going to come in and fight you. So, I don't think that's the case.
Sure. Okay. So you're saying someone who's maybe not as good as calling can have a good day if the bull's ready enough.
I think so.
But if you practice and you're more intentional with your calling, learning elk noises, then even a more uncallable bull could become callable.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I've had experiences where I've had bulls come into, you know, in the Coast Range where it's thick, into 40 yards, and, you know, I scream at them with my bugle tube pointed right at them, thinking that that was the right thing to do because they're fired up and they're coming in, and they turn around and just walk away from me.
Like it scared them, or they knew you were a person, or what?
Like I think maybe it was too intense for them. They weren't quite at that point, but had I turned my bugle tube back behind me and made them think I was back further,
he might have come
he
closer.
would have come in closer.
There's a lot of experiences I have where I feel like the bull, because I hunt super pressured areas, I feel like some of the bulls can tell when it's a person or when it's an elk. Do you think that's possible? Am I dreaming there? Am I just making up excuses for my bad calling?
I don't think I don't know it's so much that they know you're human as much as that, like in the situation I just explained to you, where I'm 40 yards from a bull and I'm screaming at them, and it's thick in there, but they don't hear anything other than a bull bugling. They don't hear the other nonverbal sounds like a bull walking back and forth or raking. It's just, other than the sound of a bugle, it's quiet. Yeah. And that's, I mean, certainly you hear that from elk, but if they're not willing to come into that extra, into a shooting lane at 40 yards or come closer, and they don't see something other than just hearing that bugle after a period of time, I think they get suspicious and wary. Yeah. So, you know, unless they see something that they see movement that isn't an elk, or you know, they can make out, you know, you're standing out in the open or something like that. Sure. I don't think that they can tell that you're human unless they get eyes on you and see where the sound's coming from and identify that it's not an elk. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I don't have as many experiences as you guys do. Like this last season was my first. I've had the one encounter that I was telling you about before the show. And
that's why we have you on, to ask the questions.
Exactly. I'll be the guy who asks all the stupid questions.
There's no stupid question.
Right. So I'm kind of just soaking in everything you guys are saying. And so I'm kind of reflecting back, and a lot of guys talk about the herd cow, like the more mature lead cow. Yeah. The lead cow in the herd. So in situations, or I guess how much do you think that herd cow affects maybe the herd bull or surrounding like satellite bulls? How much do you think that cow influences them? Could that potentially influence those big ruddied up bulls to talk, you know?
I don't know if they can influence them talking, but I have certainly seen where the lead cow can kind of dictate the actions of the herd. Yeah. You know, a number of times I have seen, the biggest bull I shot was after a week of just chasing them and just getting frustrated. He was always the last elk in the herd and would stand on the next ridge, look over towards where I was calling from to see if he could see something, and the rest of the herd was already gone. Like the lead cow had caused that herd to move out. And the cows will pick the bull that they want to breed with, and if another bull is coming into and kind of disrupting the harmony of that herd, and there's already a bull there that's the kind of their family, introducing another bull, sometimes the cows will get nervous and move out, and not necessarily the bull causing it to happen. It just not to say that the bull can't cause that to happen too, but in many situations, I've in my experience anyway, it seems like that lead cow can dictate at certain times of the season what the herd's going to do.
So in that situation, how did you end up getting that bull?
Well, in that situation, I had called a calf away from the herd, and the herd had kept moving. And like, if you've ever heard a lost calf in the woods, it's like it's this constant high pitched chirp.
Yeah.
Oh, and she's looking for him. And I just followed her back to the herd.
Okay.
And I didn't make any sounds until I got, I didn't have to make any other sounds. All I had to do was just follow her. She was so vocal because she'd gotten so far away from her.
For you.
She did the calling for me.
Wow.
And that's something else I think is important.
And the bull came looking for her?
No, I just happened to walk right into the herd. And ended up spooking the herd. Half the herd went off one direction and half the herd went another way, and they kind of circled around, and I kind of ran diagonally and cut them off.
Yeah. Okay.
And knowing that bull was always at the end of that herd, trailing the herd every time I caught up to him, I figured he was going to be the last elk that came along, and that's what happened. But
okay. Do you see that often? Is that kind of like a general rule with the herd bull?
I wouldn't say it's a general rule. I just think it can happen.
Okay.
Because there's been a couple times where I'm trailing herds for 10 miles, and the bull is like just in the middle of it the whole,
Yeah.
And it's like at the point where they're nervous, they know they're being trailed, but I keep giving them time to settle down, and then try to sneak back in. And sure enough, there's all of a sudden I'm standing in a group of cows and the bull's up in the middle of a whole bunch of them,
Right. Yeah, I think it depends on where they're at in the rut as to who's going to kind of influence what the herd's going to do. I mean, you get in the peak rut and that bull's chasing cows all around. He's kind of the one that's pushing those cows, where he wants them to go.
Yeah.
But maybe not outside of the peak rut. I think sometimes those cows can influence that just as much as the bull can.
Gotcha.
This is probably a good time to transition into some tips.
Yeah.
And ask some elk noise questions, because we're giving you some situations now. And so, first of all, though, I said at the beginning of the show, but I'll say it again. You've been recognized as some sort of a elk calling champion. 2024 Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation World Elk Calling Championship.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
That was a crazy experience.
When did you get asked to participate in that, or was it just something you were around and worked your way in?
I started competing back in the mid 2000s. I did it for quite a while.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I got out of it. I mean, I did it for 3 or 4 years, and the best I could place back then, I was competing in the men's division, was 4th place. And for my first year going in and placing 4th place, I was happy.
Yeah.
I mean, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I was young. I didn't have the resources to travel as much. So the first time I competed was in Portland. And then I think the next 2 years it was in Reno. So it wasn't that far away.
Yeah.
But then I got out of it for a while. And then in 2020, I thought, I wonder if they're still doing this. And so I looked up online, and sure enough, they were still doing it. But then COVID hit, and and they'd canceled it that year. So in 21, they were going to hold it. It was in Park City, Utah. I went and competed, and I won the men's division.
Okay.
And then after that, I was asked to join the pro team for Phelps game calls, which was just an absolute thrill and an honor.
That was based off of that victory?
It was.
Wow.
Yeah, somebody, a friend of mine now, Jermaine Hodge, who's one of the other guys in the All-American Series that has his own
he's got the
calls.
other call, the Hodge. Yeah.
Yeah, he heard me calling, and he calls up Dirk and Jason and like, you guys should hear this guy. He just won the men's division, and he sounds pretty good.
That's awesome.
Wow, what an honor, huh?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'd been using Phelps game calls for quite a few years at that point, and they, of course, noticed that, and so it's been a blast. It's been a fun journey. So they asked me to be on the pro team, and then I think the first year I was on the pro team, I took second place. I don't know if I placed the third year, but then last year, to my surprise, honestly, considering who I was competing against, I won. And to be up there on that stage with the caliber of callers that I had to compete against,
it's amazing.
I was very honored and humbled, and it was just an amazing experience.
Yeah, that's
cool.
awesome, man. Well, we were excited when we heard that an Oregon boy won the.
I couldn't believe
too.
I couldn't. Yeah, it was. I had guys at the Sportsman show, that happened to be right over the mountain from me, and Scappoose or St. Helens or Rainier or something like that, and I mean the town, Vernonia, they made me the grand marshal of we've got a local logging jamboree show,
really?
So I was the grand marshal in the parade, and
cool.
I'm like, this is over the top, and I've got all these news crews wanting to talk to me. Yeah, it's what it felt like.
Well, I mean, it's a big thing,
It was a lot bigger than I thought it was. I mean, I was happy. I mean, I was like surprised and happy, all kinds of emotions, but as soon as the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation sent out a press release, I'm getting phone calls from all these different, local news channels in Portland, and an OPB, and it's just like, wow, really?
Wow.
I just won an elk calling contest. It surprised me a bit, but between that and now having a working with Phelps to develop a signature call for myself and being a part of that team, it's like all the things that I wished would happen have come to pass, and it was
and you got your own signature call, and was the championship before or after the signature call?
After. I had worked with Phelps to develop the call and used my call in the
talk about
contest.
A PR bump, right?
Oh yeah.
World champion caller, and he has a signature call. Get it here.
And it's been, everybody's got their own unique calling style, right? And mine just is such that I blow really hard. I have a tendency to blow out calls that have a lighter latex with a looser stretch. Yeah, my call's got a heavier latex and a tighter stretch, so you can really bear down on that call and not have it cut out on you, and that's one of the things I've gotten a lot of feedback from guys that were like, man, I used to go through 4 or 5 of these other calls during hunting season, and I've been able to use yours like all season long, and and then it came out in the All-American 3-pack, and people wanted to know, well, can we just get the Hodge or the Gilbertson or the Berglund, and when Phelps launched it, it was just in a 3-pack. Well, this before hunting season, this in 26, they're gonna break them out and sell them as singles on their website.
That's awesome.
So now there can be a little bit of friendly competition between the crew too, right?
Yes, and it will be friendly for sure. But I mean, I completely expect the other two maybe to do a little bit better than mine.
Just because yours is more advanced.
Mine's more kind of an advanced call.
I found the Hodge pretty easy because I used the pack this year.
Oh, did you?
Well, I'm not a loyalist. Just to say it right now, I buy a different brand every year just to
try them out.
Yeah, and so the thing I didn't like about past elk calls is I keep it in my mouth a lot. Like I'm walking around holding it in my teeth, and the glue always comes up. And I'm also kind of a fidgeter, so I'm chewing it and stuff. And the glue always comes, but that didn't happen with my Phelps calls this year. The glue didn't come apart, so that was good.
Yeah.
And, that's one of the reasons I switched Phelps years ago, because the quality and the consistency in the diaphragms was such that I could pick up pretty much every call and get it to work. And some of the other call companies I was using in the past, they started out that way, and then things changed. And
you're gonna laugh about this. So I bought that pack, early summer, start practicing with it, and your call, the Gilbertson, fell out of the pack.
Yeah,
rolled under my gun safe.
Oh,
I looked everywhere for that thing. I never found it until like December. Then I found it under the gun safe.
See, if you had that during archery,
I know.
Yeah, if you'd have had that during archery season, you certainly would have called in a bull.
Yeah, because I even messaged you on Instagram. I was like, I bought the pack, and you're like, bull's guaranteed. So
right. It doesn't really come with a guarantee, but no, I think once my call gets broke in, I think that's where it really shines. I think people really love it.
Yep. Well, I've got a brand new one to try out this year.
There you go.
It's just got a little dust in.
It's just a little dusty. You just take the dust bunnies off of it.
Blow it off. It'll be fine.
All right. Well, now we need some wisdom from the world champion elk caller. Okay. So how about this? You've got your calls here. Gage and I are gonna hit you with some situations.
Okay.
And then I want to hear your calls, but we should try to go in chronological order of like an elk hunt. All right.
Oh, okay.
So just to start with the basics, you got out, it's 3 a.m, or 4 a.m. You're up there, it's dark, and you're kind of where you want to start the day calling. What are you going to do?
Okay. So the very first thing that I do, just because it's, like I mentioned before, if you get a bull that it's a little bit wary and doesn't really want to fight.
Yeah.
Sometimes a bugle can shut them down. They won't respond to you. So
yeah,
I usually start out with cow and calf communication, and I'll just maybe just 3 or 4 calf calls or a cow call here and there, and just sit there and listen. So it sounds something like this.
It's good.
And then I'll just stand there for a few minutes and just listen.
Yeah.
And if I don't get any response from that, I might cow call through my tube or something.
To try, your goal with that isn't to change the sound; it's to project the sound.
Just kind of amplify and project it, and just make it a little bit louder. So, and it does sound different through the tube. I'll give you an example. You don't want to seal your lips up around that tube, because it can cause the diaphragm to kind of break over.
Okay,
so kind of keep your lips away from the tube, because the tube's creating back pressure.
It's just your megaphone.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Okay.
So if that doesn't work, then I'm really excited, because I get to bugle, right? I like cow calling, but I like bugling way more. So I let out a locate bugle, and I've got variations of that. It could start out low and go up to that high ringing note, or it could just start at that high note. So this is what that sounds like.
Okay, so that holds a lot longer than I normally do. So yeah,
I do that because, again, where I hunt, it's really thick, and I'll take my bugle tube and I don't just point it one direction, right? I kind of, if I'm bugling down into a big canyon, because of all those little drainages that you can't see, I'll like start off to my left, and then when I get to that high ringing pitch, I'll just kind of take my tube and just kind of
in the middle of the bugle.
In the middle of the bugle, I'm kind of fanning my bugle back and forth to kind of project that sound, that high pitched ring that they're going to hear.
Yeah.
And then I hold that note.
Yeah.
And then I listen, and if I don't hear anything, I might throw in a lip ball or a chuckle or something like that at the end of that.
You do it once?
Usually once. And
really?
If I don't hear anything, I I mean, it depends. I mean, sometimes I'll do more than one if I don't think I reached an area, or might maybe bugle a little bit louder if I didn't think I got far enough.
Okay.
But again, depending on what I hear, if I don't hear anything, then I'll like maybe throw in a lip ball and see if that's something that elicits some kind of
Gets
response.
their attention.
Yeah, and that sounds like this.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and then of course, when all else fails, throw in a chuckle and a grunt.
Wow.
Oh man, that's the hardest one to do is the chuckle.
Yeah, it is.
Man.
And it's one of the hardest ones for people to learn. But I think what people do a lot, especially new beginners, is they take one great big deep breath.
Yeah.
And they just try to chuckle all with that one breath. And once they're out of breath, then they're done.
Yeah.
In theory, because you need to inhale on each chuckle and each grunt, you should be able to do that until you pass out, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't have a problem with running out of air because you're inhaling every time you exhale.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
And also, one thing I noticed, and I think I need to do this and practice this more, you seem to get higher on the chuckles than I'm at least used to hearing from what we do. You're going, you.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
those are kind of, that was more of a grunt, but chuckles can be lower. They'll be a little bit lower. Mm-hmm. As opposed to a grunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Big difference.
Yes. Big difference.
You've got the voice balanced perfectly too, because I feel like when I do a grunt or even some of my bugles, my voice, I probably have too much voice in it compared to what I'm hearing from you, where, because I know you're using voice to grunt. That's what you do.
Yeah.
But it's not like ooh, 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 that I'm hearing,
Yeah, I mean, you inflect, and everybody's different. And I'm not saying that, I don't know that I've heard anybody inflect too much voice when they're chuckling or grunting. I've heard them growl way too much at the beginning and the end of a bugle. That doesn't sound realistic, but yeah, you have to inflect some kind of voice to get that depth in the chuckles and the grunts, and which is important, I think, for realistic tones.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's move the hunt along. So let's just pretend that you did that and you didn't get nothing. I know it's not very exciting.
Yeah.
So
that's really boring.
At this point, the sun's starting to come up, but you found some fresh elk sign, and you're walking and you're cow calling, and then all of a sudden, you hear a bunch of cows firing off, chirping. So what's your next move?
Then I'm gonna work my way towards that herd because I don't know if there's a bull in there or not.
Not yet.
Not yet. And I try to sound like a cow.
Okay.
And
because they responded to cows, you're not throwing a bull in there.
right.
Okay.
Yeah. If whatever whether it's a bull or a cow, whatever they respond to, that's what I'm sticking to until it doesn't work.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of two ways to deal with a situation like that. If you've got cows talking back to you, if they continue to talk back, and again, this could be a bull or cows.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's necessary if you can tell where they're at to make any sounds. Like, you can move in, and that's really one of the only times that you want to be quiet. If you can gain ground on a herd that's making noise and do so quietly, you can get in close to that herd. If they hear something coming that's not making any noise, other than a twig snapping or something like that, I think they get weary because that could be a predator coming in.
Sure.
Predators are quiet, and maybe they step on a branch now and then. And
so if you're in like a super brushy area or like in the sticks, that might be when you want a cow call on that approach.
I'd probably call them, maybe
but not
do
like
some
too
calf.
much, just a little bit.
Yeah. You don't want to overdo it. Just maybe a calf call as you're moving in.
Okay.
something like that.
Yeah.
And then you're breaking brush as you're going in there.
Uh-huh. Is that the volume you do?
If I'm further away,
Yeah.
If I get
so you consider that to be louder?
that's pretty. I mean, I can get louder than that. But they can hear, and they can hear. If you're fairly close to them, they're going to hear that. I mean, if they're off a ways, you might do it a little bit louder, but you won't necessarily have to, because you can gain some ground and afford to break some brush and be a little bit noisier in the brush until you get fairly close to them.
Wow. Well, I've been ripping some loud cow calls my whole life. Maybe.
Yeah. I think if you kind of tone it back a little bit. I mean, there's a time, as a lost calf, those that's loud.
Yeah.
Those calves are trying to find the herd, and they can be really loud. But you get in amongst a herd of elk and they're cow calling and calf calling, it's a lot of times not all that loud.
Yeah.
It's fairly quiet.
Okay.
I think this is the first time I've heard a strong delineation between cow and calf.
Oh.
I think I've been doing a mixture of them when out in the woods calling.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably need to tighten that up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, calf sounds are just higher pitched and shorter.
Gotcha.
Could you throw us like a mature cow compared to a calf?
More of a mature cow. Calf.
Yeah.
Okay.
Baby elk.
Yeah. Little baby.
Just like what you'd expect.
Yep.
So let's say you are moving into the herd. You're trying to sneak in, and then you hear a bugle on the other side of the cows.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do?
Well, if he was assuming he was responding to my cow calls,
Yes.
I'd still continue to cow call.
Okay.
What if it's a challenge bugle? Which probably wouldn't happen.
I don't think, he probably wouldn't. I mean, a bull will, and I don't know if you guys have ever listened to Joel Turner, but
A little bit.
yeah, so he's got this, what he refers to as a bull calling cows bugle.
Okay.
And I can demonstrate that too. But, if a herd gets kind of spread out, or if you bump a herd and they just split off and start running, and the bull knows that his cows aren't right near him, he'll do a roundup bugle, and it's just a kind of a high-pitched short bugle. I don't know if you guys have heard that out in the woods. But
I have. Is that a tool that you ever use?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, if I get in close to a herd and that herd busts out, blows out, I'll give that bugle.
Do you wait? Do you wait a minute, or do you do it right away?
I do it right away.
Can you show us that?
Yeah. So if you got cows, that blow out, you get into that herd, this is what that bull's going to do. And just be a short, really loud, kind of high-pitched bugle. And this is where I'm at. Come over here, ladies.
Yeah.
But I've also heard him do that, what Joel refers to as a bull's calling cow's bugle, which sounds like this.
I would have taken that as like a more challenging bugle.
Well, it can be a challenge bugle too.
Yeah.
I mean, the bull will definitely throw that raspy kind of what we call a lip ball into a challenge bugle. But a lot of times that challenge bugle will include that, and it'll be a higher pitched and more aggressive sounding, and include some grunts and chuckles.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we need to change the situation a little bit to get some bugling going.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
I want to relive the situation I was in that I kind of talked to you about before we started recording. I want to know what I should have done. I walked up cow calling, and now from this conversation, I'm learning I should have just stuck with cow calling, but I didn't hear a bull yet, so I was just cows.
Or calf. I mean, a calf might even work better in that situation.
But I chuckled, and then I got a bugle from the chuckle. And then I started rubbing or raking brush. So let's say that for some reason you chuckled. From there, after you got the bugle from the chuckle, what would you have done?
Well, again, if he bugled from that chuckle, did he bugle back at you or did he chuckle at you?
Bugled.
Bugled? I'd probably bugle back at him.
Okay.
And see, not and
well,
don't.
That's what I did, and he took all his cows away. But
so
I'm not the best caller.
did you sound? I mean, did you ramp it up? Did you match his intensity?
I tried to match him.
Okay. Well, if you matched his intensity and he still took off, then
but
I mean, stuff happens.
This story, I told it on the podcast before, but anyone who doesn't know us wouldn't know the story. But it's where he took his cows and did a kind of a loop and tucked them away, and I followed, and then he came over the top to me. And I've always interpreted that to mean he was gonna come fight, probably, or at least see what I was.
That was more likely. Yeah. He was coming to try to figure out what you were.
Yeah. After he got his cows to safety, away from what I can only think he thought was a bull at that point.
Yeah.
But it was just in that moment, the reaction wasn't come fight me, because I was his cows were between me and him. And so anyway, he took him around and then came and saw me later on. Like it was maybe 30 minutes later that I stopped following him. But anyway, so you think that bugling at him was probably the right move?
I mean, I think it's a move.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's always the right move.
Sure.
Was he responding to your cow calls at all before you bugled?
No, before I chuckled.
Before you chuckled?
Yeah. And I only chuckled because I was so close. Because I'm a more timid guy when it comes to calling. That's why otherwise I would have. Yeah. Probably a different person would have bugled, maybe. Yeah,
I mean, like I said earlier, you don't know. At least I don't think you do. I don't think as a human you always know what the right thing to say at the right time is. I think.
Sure.
If you're cow calling your way in and all you hear are cows, maybe you could have continue to move in more, with them thinking you're cows, and maybe you could have gotten a visual on the bull.
Sure.
Without doing any chuckling or, make bull sounds.
Yeah.
But, in a case where you can't, and nothing is coming to you, like, are they continuing to feed away from you before you chuckled?
Before I chuckled, they were kind of stationary and they were all chirping. All the cows were cow calling, but they weren't moving this way or that way. They were just all kind of hanging out. Yeah.
Maybe in that case, patience would have been the thing to do, and just kind of, see what they're going to do. And try, I mean, this is hindsight, right? I mean, you can always think of what you could do after the fact, but, I mean, if I get in close to a herd like that and I hear a bunch of cows chirping and I think there's a bull, I mean, I probably would have ripped out a bugle too if they weren't coming to me and they were just hanging around, just chirping. Yeah. Just to see if there was a bull in the area, in which case, you made a bull sound and he fired back at you.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to say if, like I said, if he was a bit timid and because he'd been in a fight earlier in the week or early that day or whatever. And just didn't want to mess with a bull, and the safest thing to do would be just to get his cows out of the area and come back and try to investigate to see what you were, which is what he did, getting from a vantage point.
Yeah. By what I was, by that, like what you're saying there is whether I was a human or an elk, or whether I was a big bull versus a raghorn.
I think probably big bull versus a raghorn, just to kind of measure you up.
Yeah.
I mean, he obviously thought you were an elk, or he wouldn't have bugled back at you.
Yeah.
So they'll come back and just kind of try to measure you up and see, if you're a threat or not. And if you're not, if he can make that judgment call based on what he sees, then he might come down and, try to fight and get you out of the area where his cows are at. But if he sees you and you're like this, great big herd bull, he's probably just going to mosey on out of there and pick up his cows and just go,
try to get away.
It's not worth it. I don't want to get.
Well, I have one more situation for you, and then I'll let Gage ask before we start getting to the end of the show.
Okay.
But, so I was hunting with Jericho, and we were walking down this gravel road, and we started seeing fresh elk sign, elk beds from the night before on the side of the road, and could smell them. The wind was good. So Jericho bugles, and we get a chuckle in response, and they're maybe 150 yards away, but the timber was just open enough on the side hill that we could tell right where they were. But I only got a visual on one elk, and it was a cow. But there was a bull that chuckled back at us. So the problem is, as soon as Jericho bugled and we got the chuckle, all the elk were silent. It's almost like they were scared. I don't know if they got spooked by a sudden bugle or anything. Like, what would you do in that situation where you've bugled at some elk and you get a chuckle back, but they're all just like locked in, they're not moving, they're not calling?
They're not moving or calling. Their eyes are trained on where the sound came from. I'll guarantee you that. They're looking back to see what you were, again, to try to figure out whether whatever made that sound is a threat or not.
Sure. And they were right. We were a threat.
Yeah. I mean, elk are smart. You know, they're a prey animal, and they're always on alert. So
yeah.
You know, in that situation where it's open enough to where they should be able to see something. Yeah. Again, if they don't see something, they're going to get nervous. So,
okay.
If it's that open, then, you know, and it's hard to say because I wasn't there, but you know, maybe waiting for them, maybe trail the herd, and if you can see them, trail the herd, try to figure out where they're going.
So you're saying, like, in that moment, probably should have just rested and let everything calm down and see where they'd walk off to?
Yeah, because what time of day was it?
This was afternoon. I think it was afternoon. It was a long time ago. But the what I remember the most about it is that when he bugled, we got a chuckle back right off of it, and they were pretty close. But instead of any of the elk like talking or wanting to come closer, they just like locked down where they were and just weren't moving. And then when he bugled again a few minutes later, they took off.
Yeah. Probably because they didn't see anything. They heard the sound, didn't see anything, so they either figured there was no threat and decided to go where they were going to go anyway.
Sure.
Or were nervous enough because there was a sound that was made that sounded like an elk, and they didn't see an elk, so they thought, well, just to be on the safe side, we're going to get out of there. So, was there? I mean, could you have gained ground on them, like, without being seen? Like, was there enough cover where you could have used terrain or cover to get?
Because we were on the gravel road, and they were on the timbered hill side. To our right was where they were bedded on a flat wood patch, and we could have gone into the wood patch, but then we would have been really loud walking through it.
Yeah.
Like breaking brush while we did that.
Well, and that would have sounded like elk.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you'd have bugled while you were in that timber patch, making sounds like you're walking through the brush, then they wouldn't have been able to see you, and you would have sounded like a elk.
Sure.
So maybe you could have gained some ground on them, and maybe gotten close enough to where you would have become a threat to the bull, and maybe he would have come in.
Yeah.
But again, it's so situational.
Yeah. Well, in some situations, when you get a chuckle from a bugle, like you bugle, you get a chuckle back, what's the next call that you make?
I'll chuckle back at them, and like I said, I always match their intensity. So I'm not gonna.
So you'll stop bugling if the bull is chuckling and not bugling.
Yeah, if the bull's chuckling, then I'll chuckle back at him. If that doesn't work, then I'll try something else. I mean, I could scream at him. I mean, obviously it's not going to hurt anything, right? He's not coming in anyway, so he might as well try something else. So maybe I threw out a wimpy bugle. You know, or maybe I just use cow sounds and I walk through the brush and I try to get in between the bull and the cows. If I get in between the bull and the cows, I'm going to bugle, and it's going to be a big, nasty bugle.
Okay.
And he's probably going to get really ticked off because I'm between him and his cows, and now he thinks I've just taken all his ladies.
Yeah.
I've had really good success with that in the past. If you can get between a bull that has cows and his cows, and bugle, a good percentage of time that bull is going to come in and he's going to be mad because you've just in his mind taken his cows.
Can you show us what a big nasty bugle is? Wow, a lot of movement on that. Yeah. Cool.
Sheesh, wow.
So, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna let him know that I'm there.
Yeah.
I mean business.
Uh-huh.
I just took his ladies from him.
Yeah.
If you want them, come over and try to take them.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Are you worried like if a cow's not in heat, it's not going to work, or is it just it's September, it's going to work?
I think if they're herded up, whether they're in heat or not, I think you've kind of in my mind you've made him look bad, right? To his ladies and now he's either going to tuck his tail and go away and because he's just, maybe a raghorn or something like that. Yeah. Because of the way I bugled. Yeah. Or he's going to come in and fight you.
Yeah.
And try to get his cows back.
Yeah.
But,
cool.
I mean, it doesn't work every time. I don't think anything works every time.
Sure.
It's just, that's what I would do in that situation. And hope it works. And if it doesn't work and the cows take off. Yeah. And they're making noise, then again, try to trail that herd and hopefully that bull circles back around and he will. Yeah. I mean, he'll try to rejoin the herd. Yeah. And just stay on top of them.
Yeah. To build off of that situation, and I can't remember the strategy this is called, but I know a lot of guys use this in turkey hunting. Is so you and Jericho, whoever was the shooter that day, could have gone into that timber brush and could have been making the cow noises, breaking brush, sounding like a cow. What if could they have split up? Bryant goes up onto the hillside in the woods, rips off some bugles. Jericho could kind of go into the brush, start breaking brush, sound like a cow. Could that get him fired up a little bit? And then that could maybe potentially bring that bull to come get the cow, Jericho, into the brush.
You're saying manufacture, instead of getting between the bull and his cows, manufacture a fake cow and get between him and that fake cow. Is that what you're saying? Yeah,
potentially. And then, you on the hillside could be ripping off some bugles or maybe matching the energy of that other bull. And then that can maybe get him fired up because now there is a cow in between them.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. If he thinks that he has a chance to get one of his cows back, that could be a strategy for sure. Okay. Yeah. But you risk being seen because you're moving.
That is true.
But if it's thick enough, then or you can get in front of them and in front of whoever the caller was and sound like a cow and maybe and it's far enough away from the bull that he doesn't feel threatened if he doesn't want to fight. Then that could work. But just remember to pay attention to the wind because they're always going to try to get downwind of you and try to figure out what's going on really.
Yeah, the wind is the number one killer for sure.
Yeah. Right. In this story, when you're talking about getting in between the herd of cows and the bull, my immediate thought is like, oh my goodness, how could you keep track of the wind? Because it's, switching back and forth. Oh man. Elk on either side, right?
Yeah. And in the Coast Range, we don't really have thermals so much as just, prevailing winds or whatever. And you can get down into a drainage somewhere and the wind they just swap and change all over which way. And in the moment, you're not thinking about that. You just, that's the first thing I do after I go, if I get a response from an elk is check the wind before I go after them. And then, it's hard to remember after that if, in the heat of the moment, you just you're paying attention to what's going on. And if they're moving away, then I'll take out my, little bottle of smoke and try to figure out where the wind's going to stay in front of them, downwind of them. So,
yeah, I do have one more question. I don't have a ton of stories to draw on, but the one story I was telling you before the show, opening season this year, me, Jericho, and Bryant were out in the middle of a clear cut, kind of up on this little ridge. And on the ridge, there's this kind of canyon road. The road kind of is like indented into the hill. So we were kind of protected, and we had a bull down below us, right on the edge of the clear cut. And you could tell he seemed to be curious. I don't necessarily think he was angry.
He was kind of moving back and forth, breaking brush.
Yeah, he didn't
but never
talk.
Made a bugle or a chuckle.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so what gave us ultimately away was our wind. But let's say our wind didn't change and didn't give us away. how would you potentially talk to
Because we're in a
that bull?
compromising situation. You know, we're in the clear cut. He's in the timber. We were traveling through it.
Yep.
You were on top of the ridge,
Yeah.
so he could have seen you.
No, we were kind of tucked.
We were tucked back off the edge of the ridge, back into the road. That way, we didn't have a clear line of sight.
Okay. I probably would have had somebody like belly crawl up there to where he got a visual of where the elk was, and at least been able to signal back to whoever was back behind me. You know, if you could tell which way he was going back and forth or whatever.
Sure.
You stay on that back side of that ridge and he can't see you, and you continue to make elk sounds, he might be curious enough to come out. And if that guy is up there kind of as your spotter, and sees the elk come out, which sometimes they will, if you're back over the ridge from him and you can't see anything, then you're kind of flying blind. But if you've got somebody up there that can creep up there and just stay still and kind of watch and see if that bull comes out and kind of, you know, signal which direction he's going or something, then you can go and kind of try to cut him off. But
Okay, I see.
Oh, yeah, that would have been a
Makes
good
sense.
idea.
Yeah. It's just the wind was not good that day. It was.
It just flipped. The sun was coming up. You know, it flipped. You know how it is.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I really don't want to keep Tony too late. We're going long right now. We're going pretty long. So, any one last elk noise you want to hear from Tony before we finish this up?
Well, I feel like we've heard a lot. Do you have like a favorite, one that maybe is like your bread and butter? You're like, okay, this is kind of like my general call.
It's just fun to do this.
Maybe you've had the most success on it.
I mean, I don't know that I've had any more success on any of them, but I mean, the one I love to do is just that raspy, kind of challenge bugle or bulls calling cows bugle, where I'm ripping off a nasty, lip ball and then some big grunts afterwards.
That'd be a perfect way to wrap it up. Let's hear it one more time before we finish this.
It definitely, I mean, I think it's one of those calls that we as humans, like to hear.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yes, we do.
Man.
Wow.
Yeah,
we got some work to do, right?
Yeah, my calls don't sound anything remotely close to that. So,
but they can.
Yeah.
All it takes is takes practice and good quality diaphragms that a lot of guys will buy diaphragms and they blow on them, and they can't figure out why they can't get that high note, and they look at your latex and it's all kind of crinkled over and it's just wore out.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to
stretched out.
Yeah, you got to have a diaphragm that's going to get those that's stretched just at the right amount and doesn't have any wrinkles in it, and you can get that high pitched sound and something's not wore out. I mean, they're a disposable product. You have to like it or not,
new ones every year.
Buy new ones every year.
It's like fishing tackle. If you're not fishing, if you're not losing it, you're not using your calls if you're not breaking
exactly
them.
Right.
Yep.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's good, man. Well, thank you so much for all the advice you've given. And, just the last thing, we always end the show out by talking about our spiritual connection to the outdoors.
Oh, sure.
And so I want to ask you that question, is how do you connect with God through the outdoors?
My wife and I attend church. In fact, we attend the very church that we're sitting in today, but I've never felt as close to God as I am when I'm in the woods. If I'm sitting on a ridgetop and either I see elk or I hear elk or I see a sunrise over a ridge and we're above the fog and the fog's down in these canyons.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
This stuff doesn't happen by accident. I mean, I just kind of, I just want to tell everybody that for those who don't believe in God, that all you have to do is look at creation and look at the cycle of the elk. For me, that is a passion of mine to chase. And just hear those bulls and see those bulls and see how they respond and see the country they live in and it's just it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes,
I mean, this stuff like I said, it doesn't exist by accident. This was a thought out creation that occurred by, at least in my opinion, by our Creator, and that's God.
Yeah. We're always trying to peel back the layers on like, why is it that outdoorsmen have this special connection with God? You know, and we're looking at all the different avenues of it. And from hearing what you just said, it kind of unveiled another layer, and that's just the raw beauty of it.
Oh man.
And how, like, you know, God's majesty is reflected on those sights that we see.
Yeah.
Because one thing that happens when we look at that is it makes us feel small, right?
Oh,
and then we suddenly realize there's something bigger than us, bigger than we can even fathom, you know. But then there's just also this kind of like peaceful side of seeing how gorgeous it is.
Yeah.
And then like that's a way that we are introduced to God.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I haven't met an outdoorsman who doesn't believe in some sort of God.
Yeah.
And, you know, I believe that God is Yahweh, the creator of the universe, who sent his son, Jesus Christ, to die on the cross for us.
Absolutely.
And I know that we get a view into God that non-outdoorsmen don't get. Non-outdoorsmen don't get that view of God, in his beauty. You know, you don't see it unless you go out there and you see the sights, right? Yeah. But that doesn't mean it's the full picture of God.
No.
And that, you know, there's what's been revealed through scripture. And, you know, what I want to encourage anyone out there who relates to what we're saying right now about seeing the beauty of God in nature, if you haven't before, I want you to try to talk to that God. Yeah. Just like while you're out there, the next time you're aware of his presence, just talk to him. Do a simple prayer. Yeah. And because we have a special connection with God as outdoorsmen. Yeah. And we have a leg up to knowing him and seeing him, you know.
And it's so easy. I mean, I think some guys get pride comes into play, you know, and you maybe struggle with wanting to connect and accept that there's a God, and that, you know, that he sent his son to die for our sins so that we can be saved and spend eternity with him. And, you know, just try to get that pride out of the way and just look at creation and experience what that's like. And it's an easy process, man. Yeah. All you got to do is accept him and know that he's died for your sins. And you know, we're all sinners. We all fall short, and you know, I fail every day. Yeah. You know, just as any Christian does. Yeah. But you know, we just keep pushing forward and know that we're growing in Christ, and the goal is to, you know, not be perfect, but try to live like he wants us to, and grow. Yeah.
And no good deed we could ever do could make us worthy of that beauty that we get to witness, to being in his presence and in his glory. Like, it's
absolutely not.
That's why we need Jesus, is because he did it for us, you know? Yeah. Like scripture says, it was his righteousness afforded for us on the cross. Yeah. And that's why it's like, we can't die on our own cross to be saved. Even if we did die on a cross, it wouldn't be sufficient. It's only because he did it, you know?
Yeah. That's the beauty of it. I mean, there's nothing you can do to earn it. It's given to you.
Yeah. It's
all you have to do is accept it.
Yeah, freely given and freely accepted.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and that God that you can sense in the woods, you know, that God loved you and all of us so much that he created this world for us to go out and enjoy. The Bible even talks about creating man to subdue nature. And I think that's why we love it so much, is because that's kind of what we're created to do. Yeah. So, and from the context of, for us as Christians, God loved us so much that he sent his one and only son. And there's that's just that next step in beauty and love. Like, you know, I get like choked up just talking about it. Yeah. So there's the amount of beauty there is in that. And I would encourage everyone to go check out Jesus.
And that's what's awesome about talking to outdoorsmen about this, is because I knew exactly what Tony meant when he said it. I know exactly what gauge means. You guys knew exactly what I meant.
Yep.
But if we were to try to describe this to someone who hasn't seen it, I wouldn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
There would be no way to give it justice to what it's like to see, like you said, that picture. I've got pictures on my phone that are just like, the sun is rising over the fog and you see the mountains around me and the fog down below, and it's like absolute gorgeous, beautiful, and you can't see it until you go out there.
No, God's handiwork is paintbrush right there, right in front of me. He's painted a scene for us.
Yeah,
just laying out there, and I mean, there's a lot of times I'll just take a break out in the woods because I'm hunted all day, and the elk are bedded down, and I'll lay down, and sometimes I carry a little outdoorsman Bible in my pack, and I'll pull that out, and there's things that remind me about you don't have to be in a building with four walls to have church, right? I mean, you can have it right out there and on the mountaintop, my daily devotional or my Bible, or even my, the dart and bow that I shoot that has, a scripture on the limbs, things that remind me of what I'm supposed to be doing, and that I'm trying to be that person that God wants me to be. And being out in the outdoors, it just kind of reaffirms everything for me.
Yeah. Absolutely. Gives us the vision, right? We need the vision.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%.
Good stuff. Man, thank you for sharing your heart, Tony.
Sure.
Yes.
Love that. Love that.
Thank you.
Man, well, is there anything you'd like to send the listener to as far as buy the Gilbertson, right? Yep. And but follow you on Bearded Elk Whisperer Outdoors, right?
Yep, they can find me at Bearded Elk Whisperer Outdoors, and I've got a number of guys that reached out to me that want tips on how to become a better elk caller, or just sometimes I'll post experiences I have out in the woods, and things, tidbits that they can learn from, I guess as far as becoming a better elk caller, you find the right call regardless of who the manufacturer is. Find the call that fits your style of calling, and just practice. Yeah. Practice. It doesn't matter whether it's blowing an elk call or playing a guitar or a piano or either kind of instrument. Anything for that matter. You don't just pick it up and become proficient at it. It takes time.
Yeah.
It is a language.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. Yep. So, just ask again, other than your Instagram and Phelps game calls, anything else you want to send the listener to? Plug your stuff.
I think that's it. Yeah.
That covers it.
Yep.
All right.
Come and see us at the at the sportsman shows, and we're happy to talk to anybody, whether you're a Phelps game call fan or not.
Well, thank you for your time and for your wisdom, and
thank you guys.
It's been a great conversation. Good,
it was fun.
Good to get to know you a little better. And I'm Bryant.
Gage.
And Tony.
Thanks for listening. That does it.
Awesome.